Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, starring Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spaney, Daryl McCormick, and Thomas Hayden Church, directed by Ryan Johnson. Now, welcome back to Ryan Johnson after I reviewed his Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel. And this will be the second Knives Out sequel called Wake Up Dead Man. And how is it a Knives Out movie? Let's get into this movie, shall we? Benoit Blanc, returned by Daniel Craig, reads a story from a boxer turned priest named Judd Duplessis, played by Josh O'Connor, in a terrific performance as his mentor Langstrom, played by Jeffrey Wright, sending Judd to a church in a small town called New Rock with a long loner priest, Jefferson Wicks, played by Josh Brolin, and his assistant Martha Delacroix, played by Glenn Close, as Judd makes Jefferson confess his sins. And he does as we move on to Judd meeting the church groundskeeper, Samson Holt, played by Thomas Hayden Church. And the shots are good to look at, but the problem I'm having is this is the first Knives Out movie where I don't know any of the characters, nor do I care about them throughout the movie. Even Benoit Blanc, who didn't come in until like 45 minutes into the movie, and this is a long movie at 2.5 hours. And Martha explains what happens to a woman when she was a kid being demonic for whatever reason. And she beats up on Martha as a little girl and how she died. And John meets the townsman like a lawyer named Vera Draven Esquire, played by Kerry Washington, her son Cy, played by Daryl McCormick, who is in politics, Dr. May Sharp, played by Jeremy Renner, who's an alcoholic after his wife divorced him, science fiction author Lee Ross, played by Andrew Scott, and I don't get why I should care about any of these characters at all. Judd continues making more townspeople like violinist slash crippled Simone Vivian, played by Kaylee Spaney, amongst others. And I like Kaylee Spaney from Civil War and Alien Romulus, but it's very hard to connect with her. Despite it's not really her movie. While Jefferson gives out offensive messages to families and churches, so people leave. And John invites Martha, Nat, Vera, Cy, Lee, and Simone as a prayer meeting with behind Jefferson's back. And Jefferson is texted by Martha, and Jefferson is upset with Judd for making a meeting behind his back. And Judd tells Jefferson about his sins, and the plot is all over the place as we focus on this part for the longest time. And I get why, which is a setup for the movie, but did we need to take this long? No, not really. Jefferson beats up on Judd as Judd wants to save the church from the poison Jefferson is creating, and Jefferson is very upset with Judd, and Judd goes to a bar and breaks a thing that looks like the devil, and Samson sees Judd drunk, and we move on to the next day at a 3 p.m. service where Jefferson dies, while Judd takes over a session for Jefferson until he dies, and people start to blame Judd for the death of Jefferson, and the cops get involved with Chief Geraldine Scott, played by Mila Kunis, taking over the crime scene. And because of Cy, people start to avoid Judd because they're led to believe he's Jefferson's murderer. And Benoit Blanc enters the picture 40 minutes into the movie, and I forget what the hell I was watching, but when he entered, it made me think I'm in a Knives Out movie, and it took the movie long enough to get to that point. Blanc is introducing himself to Judd while monologuing about the truth and storytelling, and this is when the movie kicks into gear of making it on who done it until Geraldine comes in, and they weren't talking in the church, and he explains how he solves the murders, and he takes Judd to an autopsy of Jefferson, and Judd is scared of hearing a dead body snapping out, and Blanc and Geraldine calm him down. And the next stop is the bar where he destroyed the devil-looking thing in the bar. And they look at a photo of how he was supposed to look, and until they encounter Nat, and says he doesn't want anything to do with Judd. And the dialogue was written fine, but I like when they go into solving the mystery of the crime more than the first half of the movie. Blanc, Judd, and Geraldine go in the church to solve the mystery to Jefferson's murder as they look for clues, and Martha comes in all worried, and as Judd makes Martha leave, and Martha says no, and one wants him here no more, and Judd uses a punching bag, which was hysterical to me, while Samson tapes the baseball game that Joseph Gordon-Levitt narrates in the background during the Friday's church session, and they watch the tape, and Blanc doesn't have the answer after saying he can solve the case, and the writing works, but in my opinion, it's not my favorite Knives Out movie, as that belongs to the first movie, in my opinion. Blanc wants Judd to solve the mystery, and he figures some stuff out and sees his beer in the ground trapping the door from hitting the wall as Judd falls asleep as Blanc watches a video of by side with Jefferson saying something about betrayal and see the death of Jefferson. And this video is very confusing, particularly when they put him in the funeral home. And Blanc, what Judd tries to ask someone some questions, others questions about Jefferson, while Simone says she can walk, but she does it, but it hurts. When she does, and Cy comes in with the camera and wants people to know what happened between Jefferson and Vera, and this movie works and sings when it works on solving mysteries. Vera says Jefferson and Cy's father on the video, and it's no wonder why Cy is a pretentious ass, as Jefferson is also everyone in the church. And the church eat Jefferson's ass and comes back for seconds as he's thinking about closing the church, as he says he's a bad priest and confesses it to everyone and says some terrible things to these people. And Vera comes in and calls them a coward and throws these things like out of the house. And why am I not connecting with these characters is because I don't get to know these people as the movie progresses. They look for something hidden and smash every single damn thing in the room and call Louise from a construction site because of a receipt they have, and she honestly talks too damn much. As Rasheen holds up the movie quite a while, and I'm like, Jesus, get the movie going. While Louise asks Judd to pray for her, and her mother, as she brings up how they don't see each other anymore. Excuse me. And how alone she is, and this could be in the editing room floor, as it was taking too long, as Martha comes in closing up, and Judd doesn't want to solve the murder anymore, as he confesses he killed a man out of hate in the boxing ring, and that moment of the movie was earned, as this movie does a good enough job at earning its moments. Geraldine comes in to arrest Judd after he walks out of the church to go for a walk while Blanc lets him out, and Geraldine demands where he's at. Meanwhile, Judd hears a coffin being opened, and he's led to believe Jefferson is alive, and well, as he goes with Samson, and Judd is going after the body until he gets knocked out with a single punch, but wakes up and kills he's led to believe is Jefferson. But as it turns out, he killed Samson, and Blanc comes in with the Geraldine and looks inside the tomb while Martha comes by and sees Samson dead. Well, dead. Anyways, while Judd runs out there and gets a call from Louise about the information about the receipt being made by Jefferson himself, as Martha calls everyone about the tomb being empty, and Nat suddenly dies, and the movie loses its a little focus at this point in time. Geraldine and Blanc look at some sensor footage from when Judd was attacked, and Judd goes to the police station to turn himself in, but instead Blanc goes to Nat's house with Judd, and he says he's dead, in the basement, while with Jefferson's dead body and a toxic goo, and Judd decides to turn himself in for his own free will, and gets back to the church and confesses himself in front of Geraldine and the witnesses, and as he's about to, Blanc plays the Phantom of the Opera, telling people how the crime happened, and I was really ready to bet my money on it being who it is, as it took a while to get to the point. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm liking the movie at this point. Blanc explains what ended up happening in the crime scene, but at the end of it, he can't solve the case while everyone is shocked. But what the hell happened and how Blanc can't solve it? And he knows it as Martha comes in all guilty, and she suddenly confesses it started with a lie as she sees her father putting a jewel in his mouth, which looks way too big for someone to swallow up, as we go back to when Martha was a little girl getting beat up by the woman as she confessed it to Jefferson, who was the wrong priest at the time. And she told Judd at one point she wanted to get rid of the jewel by using Jefferson's death as well as help from Nat and Samson, whom will do anything for her. And she switches Jefferson's body to Samson's body in the coffin, and so he was the one who knocked out Judd at one point earlier in the film because he wasn't supposed to be there. So the one responsible was Martha the entire time, even getting Nat killed, and Martha falls to her death and dies and drops the jewel. Blanc wants nothing to do with it, and 1 year later, Lee wrote a new book. Vera moves out of her house. Simone plays the cello, and Judd and Blanc meet this with Cy and Langstrom about the jewel and doesn't tell him where it is, and Judd becomes an actual priest with people going after him, and he's ready to be for it as he rebuilds, and the climax was good, but this was not the best Knives Out movie in my opinion. But what do I mean by that? Let's talk about it. I'll give this movie a 7.6 out of 10. Josh O'Connor is the standout performance in the movie, and the shots are good to look at, but the problem I'm having is this the first Knives Out movie where I don't know any of the characters, nor do I care about them, even Benoit Blanc, and he doesn't show up until 40 minutes into the movie, and this is a long movie at almost 2.5 hours, as this plot was all over the place, and we focus on the first half for the longest time. And did it need to take this long? Absolutely not. While Benoit Blanc comes into this movie and kicks into gear of making it a whodunit, and the dialogue and was written fine, but I like when we solve the mystery of the crime, as it works better than dealing with the first half, and the writing works in this, in my opinion. It's not my favorite Knives Out movie, as that belongs to the first movie still. This movie works and sings when they're working on solving the case, and this is a recommendation for the movie. But why am I connecting with these characters? Am I not connecting with the characters? Is because I don't get to know them as the movie progresses. And there were a couple of times the movie takes too long, and it could be in the editing room floor, but at the end of the day, it does a good job at having its moments. And the title is necessary, but it's not my favorite Knives Out movie. So I'd like to thank you guys for returning to Rian Johnson, and as you can see this movie on Netflix. And until we ever get another Rian Johnson Knives Out movie, the case is solved.